Greetings, salutations, and good now. I'm astrologer Kevis Major, doing it major. And in today's video, we're going to be doing our weekly forecast for January 6th until the 15th of January. This week is going to be filled with cosmic intensity, leading us up to a full moon in Cancer, and then some more energetic shifts as the moon continues to be full all the way into Leo. Let's dive into it. This week we are going to be navigating some deep transformations as we experience Pluto in Aquarius squaring Mars retrograde in Cancer. Now, earlier in the month on January 1st to the 3rd, we had Pluto in Aquarius squaring Mars, but Mars was in Leo, and this was causing some really intense, violent, aggressive, explosive influences. And now that we have this same transit but in Cancer retrograde, it's not so aggressive and violent and volatile, but it's going to be more passive aggressive. We could see, domestic aggression, things happening in the home or in our comfort space, or anything that is close to that sensitive spot, because we know that Cancer, ruled by the moon, is one of the most sensitive signs that alludes to that motherly energy, that nurturing energy, that thing that makes us feel close to home, if that makes any sense. And so with Pluto squaring Mars, squares always brings challenges. Pluto, the planet of death, destruction, and doom, basically it ushers in changes, you know what I mean, making room for rebirth and things that are new, breaking down and dissolving what's old and outdated. So there's going to be a challenge between what's motivating us to cultivate a good homely space, and we're going to be reassessing and re-evaluating every person, situation, thing, influence that is prohibiting us from feeling comfortable. Venus in Pisces is going to soften the intensity a bit, bringing in a bit of compassion and dreamy qualities, idealism when it comes to situations and relationships. And by the weekend, we're going to be having the full moon, where everyone is going to want to feel comfortable or even have that sense of home, family, or emotional security. So from the placements that we highlighted above, we could see that this week is going to be quite emotional, quite intuitive, quite sensitive. You could even say it might be a bit of nostalgia, because we have the retrogrades in Cancer. So if there was anything that made you feel loved or nurtured or close to home, you might be revisiting, reevaluating, or just be rethinking about these things during this time. So it's going to get more intense as the full moon rolls in, but this week is going to be about it's going to have a strong emotional undertone per se. All right, we take a few minutes to examine the outer planets and see what they're doing for this week. We already discussed that we have Pluto in Aquarius squaring Mars in retrograde in Cancer. So this is again an intense power struggle and emotional confrontation. Aquarius deals with our acquaintances, affiliations, associations, innovation and change, futuristic endeavors. And so Pluto is urging us to change, for our own good. It's asking us to change in a way that not only benefits us as an individual, but benefits the collective conscious. Neptune is in Pisces squaring Mercury in Sagittarius. So again, Neptune deals with our idealism. It's in Pisces, so we're basically in la la land. But there's a problem, there's a challenge, because the way we think, process information, even the ideas that may be on our mind are in Sagittarius. And so Sagittarius gives us this broadened horizon where we might even be thinking about holidays or travel or going abroad. We also have Uranus in Taurus retrograde. It's going to trine the sun in Capricorn. Uranus in Taurus Uranus deals with change and rebellion, innovation. And so when it's in Taurus retrograde, it asks us to reevaluate, reassess, recalculate, and calibrate how we discipline ourselves, how we become consistent, how we do something for the long haul and for the long term. It just asks us to be disciplined if we want to make breakthroughs in our career, in our finances, because again, Capricorn, all of this earth energy, all of this material energy, it speaks towards career, finances, our possessions, our potential that we could fulfill on a materialistic level. We also have Saturn in Pisces squaring Jupiter retrograde in Gemini, sextile in Sun in Capricorn. So again, we need to balance optimism with realism. Saturn helps us to set boundaries and limitations while it's in Pisces, putting those limits and boundaries on our best wishes, our idealism. And so there's a lot of things that we want, but Saturn is helping us to structure out, okay, I know these are wants, but how do I get it? And are these even realistic, or these things that, are necessarily going to serve us? Because this squares Jupiter retrograde in Gemini. And again, Jupiter is all about what? Wisdom, knowledge, experiences, and it being in retrograde is asking us again to reassess, reevaluate, just take a deeper look into, the things that you think that you want. And the Saturnalia energy is helping us to put certain boundaries and restrictions and carve it out and see if it's realistic or not. And then Jupiter retrograde influence this week is, further helping us to shape the boundaries that we need to set for ourselves. It's sextile in the Sun in Capricorn, again lending to more earthy energy, just helping us to be balanced, grounded, and disciplined as we go through this week. And this is a really good transit, because we already said that this week is going to be quite sentimental, quite emotional, filled with nostalgia, and just emotionally driven. So having these earth placements, the sextiles with the Sun in Capricorn, is a really good placement just to help us balance and stay grounded this week. All right, let's take a few minutes to look at the inner planets. We have Mars retrograde in Cancer. I don't know why domestic violence comes to my mind, but Mars is such an aggressive, forceful planet that could lead to, violence and aggression. Cancer deals with motherly, nurturing, homely type energy. So Mars retrograde, reevaluating, reassessing, having a lot of, that aggression. And while you're going back over situations in the home or that deals with affairs of the heart, I don't know why that just seems like it's on the cards on a negative aspect. On a positive aspect, it could just be motivation to make or even break a home. It just seems a bit negative to me, because Mars doesn't really like to be here in Cancer. But again, it helps us to nurture and spend time nurturing our ambitions and motivations. There's a trend with Neptune that brings a bit of emotional clarity, but it's going to emerge slowly. So dream big but move cautiously. We have Venus in Pisces, which is good because Venus loves to be in Pisces. So when it comes to relationships, intimacy, romance, Pisces is going to give us that compassion, that compassionate vibe, that it takes for us to allow people to be who they are, and you to accept that and gravitate to them despite the aches and pet peeves and flaws and other people's imperfections. You just vibe with them because we are humans. And so Venus in Pisces is allowing for that compassionate vibe, and it allows for deep healing within relationships if you choose to forgive the other person. We have Mercury in Sagittarius. Again, it's squaring Neptune. So even though this is good for communicating, getting your point across, intellectualizing, even having debates and conversations, You need to look out for any misunderstandings, miscommunications, and just double check your travel plans and contracts at this point in time. All right, let's do a day-to-day breakdown just to provide greater insight as to what's going to be happening this week. On January 7th, we're going to have the Moon and Chiron in Aries opposing Lilith in Libra. This is going to be again triggering some emotions because Chiron deals with trauma and stuff that we didn't really heal from, or even though we have healed, there's still the marks, there's still the wounds. And it's in Aries, so that has to do with fairness, independence, our boldness, our charisma, our leadership capabilities. And it's going to oppose Lilith, that deals with our first nakedness, certain levels of embarrassment. And so this transit asks us to balance our traumas and our embarrassments and not have them as anything that wears down, but just help us to be more, fiery energy, that Aries energy, bold, accept them with boldness and not to be triggered by these things. On the 8th of January, we're going to be having the first quarter moon in Taurus, lots of grounding energy, focus on practical matters. We're also going to have trines with Mercury and a sextile with Venus. This is allowing for creativity, good communication when it comes to relationships. On January 9th, we're going to be experiencing a major Earth trine with Moon in Taurus, Sun in Capricorn, and Uranus in Taurus retrograde. The major Earth trines perfect for us when it comes to manifestations and getting tangible results. So solid progress in work or finances is going to be great on that day. I wish that day could be like a payday or something. January 10th, we're going to have Venus squaring Jupiter retrograde in Gemini. For some reason, I just feel a strong sense that people's exes are going to be reaching out around this time up until this day, because we have Venus squaring Jupiter. So Venus square Jupiter, there's some sort of challenge, there's some sort of conflict. Jupiter deals with our experiences, retrograde, reassessing, reevaluating, revisiting. So maybe something from the past is going to challenge our fulfillment, our intimacy, our pleasure, So I could see our old ex coming back, or maybe us just overindulging, because Venus deals with our pleasure system. So maybe overindulging, eating too much good food, drinking too much, smoking too much, or just going back to a toxic situation or a situation that you're familiar with already. Okay. So overindulging our unrealistic expectations in relationships. Stay mindful. On January 12th, we're going to be preparing for the full moon, but Venus is going to conjunct Saturn and Neptune in Pisces. So this Venus conjunction with Saturn is going to allow us or help us to set healthy boundaries and limitations, just to calm down, I guess, Neptune in Pisces, because Neptune in Pisces deals with dreams, illusions, mysticism, fantasy, idealism, things that we wish for or want for. And then because we have Venus there that deals with intimacy, pleasure, and that feeling or longing to be fulfilled, even in a sexual, sensual type of way. You could see how, again, we already had Jupiter retrograde squaring Venus, so some ex coming back in, or maybe a situation that we already knew that wasn't good for us coming back around, a past person, place, situation, circumstance. But then Saturn is there, that could help us to set hefty, strong boundaries and limitations upon certain situations. The square in Jupiter retrograde is going to aid us in avoiding to overextend ourselves and overplay ourselves. You understand me? We need to be going about this thing with a certain level of caution as we progress to the full moon on January 30th. This is going to be a full moon in Cancer, and in this full moon, the moon in itself, in its own nature, wants to be comfortable, wants to be at peace, wants to be stable, wants to have a certain level of security. And Cancer, the motherly energy, wants to feel safe, secure, nurtured, loved, appreciated, taken care of. And so we are all going to want to feel at home in some way, shape, or form. Either we're going to want to have a home, we're going to be working on our home, we're just going to want to feel settled in a homely situation. All right. And so full moon in Cancer is going to oppose the sun in Capricorn, so there's going to be tension, or it's going to ask us to balance between our work life and our home life. It also is going to be conjuncting Mars Retrograde in Cancer, so this could cause some emotional outbursts. Mars is quite aggressive, volatile, even sharp, and I'm saying very quick. So there could be some outbursts or outbreaks surrounding situations that already happened, because it's a retrograde. So again, revisiting, reevaluating, rethinking. All right. And so we need to reflect on what nurtures us emotionally and what we kind of need to release as we go forward towards the full moon. The moon is going to be full for a few days, the 13th, the 14th, the 15th. I see here even up until the 16th, the moon is going to be full in Cancer, then in Leo, and then in Virgo. All right. So for the most part, we could see that this week again is going to be very emotional. We're going to have to use our emotions, use the moon, the mood as our guide. We know that on the full moon, around the 13th, 14th, 15th, we are going to want to feel comfortable, stable, secure, loved, appreciated. And so these days, we need to be taking the necessary steps. So when we reach to the full moon, we are at a fulfilled state. On January 9th, Thursday, we experience a Earth trine with Moon in Taurus, Sun in Capricorn. This is going to be great for just getting some tangible work done and even yielding some tangible results. But from the next day, we're still going to be feeling the earthy effects. We're going to stay grounded. We're going to keep the manifestations rolling in, when it comes to stability and security. But the next day, the 10th, we have Venus squaring Jupiter, opening back up the doors for emotions and feelings to be the major theme for the week. And so, as we progress through this week, just make sure that you keep your emotions in check and you keep the door closed to any ex. Major farewell until we meet or greet again. I'm astrologer Kevis Major, doing it major.